Now, the back and forth between who will pay the legal fees in the Crawford County library lawsuit finally settled tonight. Crawford County was ordered to pay $112,000 in legal fees stemming from a 2023 lawsuit filed by some parents after LGBTQ books meant for children were moved to the adult section. Well, tonight, the county quorum court voted to not help the library board with that $112,000 bill. 5 News reporter Lauren Spencer has been following this closely. She's reaction now from tonight's specially called meeting.
Motion passes.
Last week, the Crawford County Library Board voted to pay the over $112,000 amount. But some were hoping the county would extend an olive branch and offer to pay about $40,000. Eli Clarity has been following the issue closely since the beginning.
One group's civil liberties being targeted makes all of our civil liberties vulnerable.
He says he believes the county should have paid some of this amount.
It was the JP's inability to step in and say, this is wrong. This is not under the purview of our duties to get into a political fight with the library system. At every step of the way, they either passed the buck of responsibility or they doubled down on their extremism.
The quorum court decided to not help foot the bill, with all of that coming from the library's budget.
During this lawsuit, the county out-of-county general has paid 70% of these attorney fees, so the quorum court didn't feel it was too much to ask the library to pay for the other 30%.
Clarity says he's worried about how the library system will operate without this money.
This is going to gut the libraries. They do not have the money to assume this full judgment. They will be out of the money by the end of the year if they do this.
County Judge Chris Keith says he doesn't believe that will be an issue.
I don't see where it's going to have to make them stop any type of movement or working conditions. Looking at the monies, 90% of it is budgeted at the first of the year, 10% is reserved. That's not even in the equation. And then they budget a portion of it, and then there's unappropriated still left. So that is where the money is coming from.
In Crawford County, covering news where you live, Lauren Spencer, 5 News.
Meanwhile, major changes happening now on MLK Boulevard in Fayetteville. Arkansas Department of Transportation upgrading the interchange there at I-49. Starting at 8 tomorrow morning, you'll no longer be able to drive south on Futrell Drive. It means if you're going west on MLK, you won't be able to turn left, and if you're headed east, you won't be able to turn right. The project also includes adding a overpass and 2 roundabouts on 15th Street. Construction expected to be complete sometime mid-2028. As the number of measles cases in the U.S. nears 900 tonight, a local mom is sharing her story to urge parents to vaccinate children against this disease. It comes as the Arkansas Department of Health is warning of possible exposure at 2 locations within the city of Fort Smith. In 1966, Lou Smith's 6-year-old daughter had to be hospitalized after she began having uncontrollable seizures. She'd contracted rubella, also known as German measles. It's caused by a different virus that measles, but the cause has a rash and other shared symptoms. The vaccine wouldn't be released for another 3 years, and now with cases nearing 900 in the U.S., including 3 in Arkansas and 10 in Oklahoma, Smith is now urging parents to take action.
I am absolutely terrified that people are not getting their babies vaccinated like they should. I don't want anybody to ever have to go through that. I don't want a child to go through it. It's horrible. It just takes everything you've got to survive it.
Smith says her daughter had only slight memory deficits after recovering and went on to become a registered nurse herself. Here's a look at the 2 locations in Fort Smith that ADH announced last week there were exposure sites. They say the infected person made stops at Mercy Hospital on Saturday, April 19th, and at Best Friend's Pet Clinic on April 21st. They're urging anybody who may have been exposed to get up to date on MMR vaccines and to monitor symptoms, which can take up to 3 weeks to develop. Fayetteville schools moving forward now with a new program aimed at improving response times during emergencies. Starting this fall, Fayetteville schools will become one of just a few districts in the state with staff wearing these panic alert devices. The badges give several options to call for help, including contacting other educators, the front office, or even 911. A bill that would have required the devices in all schools was introduced during this past legislative session, but it did not pass. Fayetteville Schools says it had already been working on adding the devices long before this legislation was introduced.
All of the leaders in our building are constantly watching the news and watching what's going on around the world in regard to students and student safety. And so our conversation started last year about what are some other ways that we can make it priority that our students are safe. And this came up because teachers had mentioned before that they would feel safer in the classroom if they had some way of alerting people when something was going on without disrupting their class. And this will be perfect for that.
District is paying for the new system with help from an Arkansas safety grant and a $195,000 donation from the Safer Fayetteville Philanthropic Group. We're learning more tonight about the suspects in a deadly shooting earlier this month at a park in Conway. 2 suspects are now in custody. 2 more, though, are still on the run. And we're learning at the time of the deadly shooting, one of the suspects was free on bond for another alleged gun crime. It's led to a lot of concerns about the bail system in Arkansas. Reporter Rebecca Brown takes those questions to a legal expert.
The odds that we're playing are the safety of the community versus the inherent civil rights of the charged defendant.
After the tragedy in Conway, many in the community are left asking tough questions about the justice system. This comes after finding out that one of the suspects now in custody was already facing serious charges, but still was released on bail.
Now, remember, of course, when someone's arrested, it doesn't mean they're convicted. That's the whole point of the process.
It's a situation we've seen across the state, but according to Rob Steinbuck, professor of law, there's a reason why.
So there's this philosophical concern that you can't just put everybody that you arrest in jail, because after all, that's a type of punishment and it's putting the cart before the horse. With that said, if you arrest someone and then let everyone go and just tell them to show up for the trial, there are 2 problems.
The justice system being a double-edged sword, as Steinbuck says, on one hand, defendants have rights, but he understands community concerns. How would you approach it if someone says, well, the system failed us because you let someone out?
Yeah, in some respect, that statement is correct.
But in the light of recent events, Steinbuck says the Conway shooting could be the catalyst of change.
We can move that needle towards safety by changing the standards under which we release people on bail. We can lower the amount of evidence and the burden that's necessary to be demonstrated or satisfied in order to hold someone pending trial if that person has indicators of dangerousness.
Rebecca Brown, 5 News.
Here's a look at the 2 men Conway police and the U.S. Marshal Service still looking for tonight. They're searching for 2 brothers, 21-year-old Kedrick Johnson and 18-year-old Kamari Johnson. Both are wanted on capital murder charges. Investigators asking anybody with information on their whereabouts to reach out to the Conway Police Department. Springdale police helping arrest 2 people over the weekend that were wanted for a deadly shooting in Camden, Arkansas. SWAT team with the Springdale Police Department helped arrest Chris Arnold and Keegan Turner over the weekend. They were both taken into custody at a home in Springdale yesterday. Charges are connected to a deadly shooting that happened in 2022. Both are being held tonight in the Washington County Jail, waiting to be sent back to Camden. Sebastian County Election Commission gathered today as it gets ready for a big local election on the calendar next month. Annual school and special elections happening May 13th. Now, among the issues on the ballot, a sales tax that will go to funding consent decree work in Fort Smith. With early voting starting on Monday, election commissioners say today was all about making sure everything is ready to go.
We did our public LNA testing and we signed off on our LNA results. So all the machines are ready to go.
Early voting will open starting Monday in Fort Smith. Election day is Tuesday, May 13th.